Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Morning, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 16. Text 16. Vichakshanayat charanopasarana Sangam Vyudasyo Bayatonta Atmana Vinantihi Brahma Gatim Gataklamas Tasmai Subhadra Sabase Namo Namaha. Vichakshana, highly intellectual. Yap, whose? Charana upasadanat, simply dedicating oneself unto the lotus feet. Sangam, attachment. Vyudasya, giving up completely. Ubayata, for present and future existence. Anta Atmana, of the heart and soul. Vindanti, moves progressively. He, certainly, Brahmagatim, towards spiritual existence. Gata Klama, without difficulty. Tasmai, unto him, Subhadra, all auspicious. Savase, unto one who has heard. Nama, my due obeisances. Namaha, again and again. Translation, let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. The highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences and without difficulty progress toward spiritual existence. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter, everyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. Lord Sri Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter, and everyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. In the last phase of his instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, 1864-66, he instructed most confidentially as follows: Sava guya tamam bhuya suname paramam vacha isto si me didam iti tato vakshami te hitam manmana bhavaman bhakto madhyadi mam namaskuru mam evaisisi satyam te pati jane priyosi me savaramam parityagya mamekam saranam vajaham tvam savapapebhyo moksha shami ma suchaha. My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I will disclose the most secret part of my instructions. It is simply this: become a pure devotee of mine and give yourself unto me only, and I promise you full spiritual existence by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service unto me. Just give up all other ways of religiosity and exclusively surrender unto me, and believe that I will protect you from your sinful acts, and I shall deliver you. Do not worry anymore. Persons who are intelligent take serious notice of this last instruction of the Lord. Knowledge of the self is the first step in spiritual realization, which is called confidential knowledge. And a step further is God realization, which is called more confidential knowledge. The culmination of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is God realization, and when one attains this stage of God realization, he naturally, voluntarily becomes a devotee of the Lord to render him loving transcendental service. This devotional service to the Lord is always based on love of God and is distinct from the nature of routine service as prescribed in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. In the different In the Bhagavad Gita, there are different instructions for such men of different categories. There are various descriptions for Varnashram Dharma, Sannyas Dharma, Jati Dharma, the renounced order of life, controlling the senses, meditation, perfection of mystic powers, etc. But one who fully surrenders unto the Lord to render a service unto Him out of spontaneous love for Him, factually assimilates the essence of all knowledge described in the Vedas. One who adopts this method very skillfully attains perfection of life at once. And this perfection of human life is called Brahmagati, or the progressive march in spiritual existence. As enunciated by Srila Jiva Goswami on the basis of Vedic assurances, Brahmagati means to attain a spiritual form as good as that of the Lord, and in that form the liberated living being eternally lives on one of the spiritual planets situated in the spiritual sky. Attainment of this perfection of life is easily available to a pure devotee of the Lord without his undergoing any difficult method of perfection. Such a devotional life is full of kirtanam, shmaranam, ikshanam, etc., as mentioned in the previous verse. One must therefore adopt this simple way of devotional life in order to attain the highest perfection available in any category of the human form of life in any part of the world. When Lord Brahma met Lord Krishna as a playful child in Vrindavan, he offered his prayer in which he said, Sriyasistim bhaktim udasyate vivo klishyanti ye kevala bhoda labdaye tesham aso kleshala eva sisyate nanyat yata stula tusavagatinam. Bhakti Yoga is the highest quality of perfection to be achieved by the intelligent person in lieu of performing a large quantity of spiritual activities. The example cited here is very appropriate. A handful of real paddy is more valuable than heaps of paddy skins without any substance within. Similarly, one should not be attracted by the jugglery of karma kanda or jnana kanda, or even the gymnastic performances of yoga, but skillfully should take to the simple performances of kirtanam, shmaranam, etc., under a bona fide spiritual master, and without any difficulty attain the highest perfection. Jakshana yach charanopasaranat sangam yudasyo bayatung atmana vindantihi brahmagatim gata klamas tasmai subhadra shavase namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences, and without difficulty progress towards spiritual existence. So, here, this whole chapter, Sukadeva Goswami more or less is offering his obeisances. Let me offer my respectful obeisance in the previous verse and in the verses coming. Again and again, Namo Namaha. A very beautifully spoken verse by Sukadeva Goswami. Tasmai Subhadra Sabase Namo Namaha. Vichakshana Yach Charanopasadana. These are like poetry. Very poetic composition. Statement by Sukadeva Goswami. And it's heartfelt. It's not, as Prabhupada explains, that there's routine or official, someone can be an official meditator doing routine activities, or, follower of the Karma Kanda or the Jnana Kanda, officially, externally, but how much feeling is within is another thing. Of course, individuals can exhibit in each category also some deep natural feeling, spiritual feeling, but and also on the level of bhakti, on the level of practice of bhakti yoga, there is all different categories, beginners. Here, the word unalloyed is mentioned, that one has to become unalloyed, yes. Lord Sri Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter, everyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. An alloy, of course, is metals that are mixed, one metal mixed with another. It's mixed. So there's mixed devotees. Mixed. They're devotees, but they're mishra. They're mixed with perhaps some tamaguna and some rajaguna, or some sattva-guna, or mix of all these things, mixed with some feeling of jnana, karma. They're mixed. Here, what Prabhupada states here is becoming unalloyed, no mix. Anyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee, Prabhupada emphasizes exclusivity, focusing on Krishna. And in Bhagavad Gita, when he quotes this Sava-guya tamam bhuya, in his purport, the Prabhupada explains, actually the highest perfection, there are many even expansions and incarnations of the Lord, but the original is Sri Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, and playing the flute. That form of Krishna before Arjuna, and especially Shyam Sundar playing the flute, that is considered the topmost. So if someone can be fixed on that form, unalloyed, not mixed, unfortunately we're going along and we're still mixed devotee, affected by so many things. But of course, if we go along very nicely under the expert guidance of the Guru and the Sadhus, Shastra, then we can become purified and become to this unalloyed devotee. Anyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. So certainly Sukadeva Goswami is unalloyed devotee, and therefore he is offering his respectful obeisances again and again. And this is not just for the sake of making a show, or this should be done, or I need to be seen to be doing this. In the beginning stages, we need to follow these things, although we don't feel so much natural inclination to follow them all the time. But we understand intellectually that we need to be doing these things. It's not the topmost level, but of course it's also good, because even if you don't feel like it, you do it, and just the activity of it is purifying. But ultimately, one needs to actually be purified to the point of naturally within having that feeling. So the karma yogis and the jnana yoga, the dhyana yoga, all the different yogas, they want to develop to the higher levels, and also with the bhakti yogis, we want to develop to the highest level. So, Namo Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Now, very interesting statement here. When one offers obeisances, obeisances is offering respects, worshipping, or the physical act of bowing down also. Bowing down. Lowering the head, bowing down. We come in the temple, we bow down. This is offering obeisances. We bow down before the Guru, we bow down before the deity. This is the physical offering obeisances. So when you bow your head down to someone, and here it is mentioned also, surrendering to his lotus feet. So we're offering respectful obeisances. Not just official, but here Sukadeva Goswami, respectful, he's bowing down very respectfully. He has a lot of gratitude. And to have gratitude and for a long period of time means there's some deep affection and some love. One can externally do these things, but over the long period we've seen that perhaps it is more show than actual reality of the position of the person. Sukadeva Goswami is the highest grade of Mahabhagavat. So he's bowing down. Now, when we bow down to someone's feet, we mentioned here surrendering to the lotus feet of Krishna. Now, in one sense, surrendering to the lotus feet means following the instruction. The other sense, you actually bow down to the lotus feet. When you bow down to someone's feet and put your head at their feet, that is a real surrender, because you're in the most vulnerable position. In the vulnerable position, you bow down your head to their feet. They could kick you in the head, stomp on your head. They could do all sorts of things. And you take that risk. Of course, we're bound down to Krishna, and he protects us. Although sometimes we read about, for example, Lord Nityananda, someone bowed to his head and he kicked him in the head. But that was like a blessing. There's a few stories like that. But when we bow down to someone who's worthy of bowing down to, most people don't like to do that. It's humble. It's a show of humility. And I think I've told the story when I was first coming to the temple. I remember one time I brought a friend and he brought his girlfriend. And when we were leaving in the car, I said, well, what did you think? And he said, yeah, very nice, the food was good. The girlfriend said, yeah, well, it was good, but all this bowing down, all this bowing down. I don't know, it's just too much bowing down. They bow down here, they bow down again, and they get up and they bow down again. So it's just too much bowing down. Well, we're puffed up, that's the thing. We're pretty puffed up. And it's good to bow down. We don't like to bow down to anyone. We're so puffed up, we're arrogant, condescending. No, I'm not bowing down to anyone. So just doing that act is good for you. Is good for you. You may not have much of a feeling for it, but it's actually good for you. It's showing submission and showing surrender. And you're doing it to the most worthy person, the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. Now, these words are used here. Now, Sukadeva, again and again, he does it, offering it again and again. One could think, well, I did it this morning. What do I have to do it again for? I came into the temple room this morning and, all right, I've come back in. Well, I won't have to go down again. I already did it before. No, here we find that Sukadeva Goswami, again and again, he's offering his obeisances. Of course, he's sitting there, he's offering his obeisances again and within his mind, and offering respect. And when we come to the temple, we bow down. These are some of the regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. We have to bow down. I remember Prabhupada one time when we were in Juhu Beach. Prabhupada came out in the afternoon for an afternoon walk, and he went down to the beach, and we were just outside, and he walked past, and we bowed down to Prabhupada. But then one of the God brothers just went like this. He went like this. We actually got down and paid our obeisances, but he just went like this. So Prabhupada actually commented later to his assistant, this disciple who was accompanying him. He said that one, he didn't bow down properly. He said, not that I require, but it is proper that for the disciple to actually bow down to the guru and to just nod the head, like a nodding of the head. It's not so good. So I want us to learn these things. And of course, Sukadeva Goswami, again, the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. Now, all-auspicious. Now, auspiciousness generally is translated, that which is good. It's good, something's auspicious. It's very good. And that thing is good. But generally, the word auspicious in this world, something's good, something's auspicious. Oh, that's very auspicious. That was good for you. It's temporary. And it's only good for you and in that circumstance. But here it says all auspicious. These are very nice points. All auspicious means that anything to do with Krishna is good, not only for you but for everyone. Let me offer my respectful obeisances. And he's offering his obeisance and then he's praising Krishna. The all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. The all auspicious. So any contact with Krishna. Now Krishna, of course, has his Leela and comes and there's all sorts of killing up asuras. But even that we know that is auspicious for that asura. So any contact with Krishna is good for you. Any contact. And whether you know it is good for you and whether you don't know it's good for you. Just like a medicine. If you're prescribed a medicine, you may not know it's good for you, but you don't know how it acts, but you take it. But it's good for you. So it's powerful. The sun is used as another example. The sun purifies everything, even though the dirty places or whatever it is, the sun purifies. It's so powerful. Nothing can affect the sun. The dirty place can't affect the sun. Rather, the sun affects the dirty place and cleans it. So similarly like that, Lord Sri Krishna is all auspicious. So those who are highly intellectual, this is another good point here, those who are highly intellectual, now there's intellect, there's material intelligence. Material intelligence, one goes to school, one learns so many things and becomes very proficient in a specific area, learns engineering, architecture, medicine, all the law, and applies all that, becomes a trade, a plumber or a carpenter. It takes intelligence. And someone may be very, very intelligent. But this is a level of material intelligence is actually quite superficial. It's a superficial level of intelligence. And it's not, spiritually speaking, it's not considered highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. So, generally, those high intelligence, those who are highly intellectual, high intelligence is deeper and it goes to spirituality. And so when one develops that spirituality, naturally, the intelligence, the soul has intelligence, the soul has mind, but now they're covered by a layer of subtle material intelligence, a layer of subtle material mind. So when that's all purified, then the natural intelligence underneath those layers of material intellect and mind and the senses, underneath all that is the actual intelligence of the soul. And so when one is purified, then that intelligence becomes strong. We have to make our intelligence strong because now in material it's kind of maybe strong materially, but it's weak spiritually. It's weak spiritually. When one has a spiritually weak intelligence, then one cannot control the mind. And when the mind's not controlled, then all the body's out of control. So to be able to control the mind, a good intelligence, strong intelligence, a spiritual intelligence. So when one has the spiritual intelligence, this is actually called highly intellectual. So those who are highly intellectual are simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet. And they understand that, you see. With their intelligence, they understand it. There's those who are intelligent, those who take to the spiritual life are considered truly intelligent. But those who are highly intelligent surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. See, and this Prabhupada refers to this sabha guya tamam bhuya sriname paramam vacha. He says, because you are my dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge. Hear this from me. Sriname paramam vacha, hear my supreme instruction. Now, Prabhupada explains that the beginning of confidential knowledge is knowledge of the self. And more advanced on that level is knowledge of God. And more advanced is knowledge of Bhagavan and his attributes and his qualities and so on and so forth. That's considered most confidential. So it's called confidential. It's actually open to everyone, but one has to qualify themselves to be able to understand it. That's why it's called confidential. Understand? It's not that we're not telling anyone. Oh no, we can't tell you. What's this Krishna consciousness? No, we can't tell you. It's confidential. What's it all about? Why do you do that? Can't tell you. It's confidential. Not that type of confidential. It's confidential. All right, you would sincerely want to hear. You really want to understand. And actually, later on, idam tena tapaskaya. These are very famous verses. Manmana, Bhavavan Bhakto, very famous verses from Bhagavad Gita. But later on, Krishna says, idam tena tapaskaya na bhakta karach. Na chastrusha sebevacham na chamyam gabishuyati. He says that actually this confidential knowledge is not going to be understood to someone who's not austere, controlling the senses. It's not going to idantina tapaska na bhakta. Someone who commits to being a devotee na bhakta na chastusiv, and someone who is envious of me. So someone like that is not really going to be able to. So if one qualifies themselves, of course we do explain, this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy of all the acharyas, that they, even those who are not qualified, they explain, but up to a point. And Prabhupada told us, and I've told this story before when we went to La Trobe University, there was a Communist Party there, and they sabotaged Prabhupada's lecture. They didn't let him speak, just one sentence, two sentences, and they stood up and interjected. Later on, Prabhupada told us, for the masses, main thing is prasadam and kirtan. Prasadam and kirtan. Give them kirtan and give them nice prasadam, and then they'll be purified to the point where they can maybe inquire more seriously and begin and be purified. And then when one qualifies themselves like that, then they go into the more confidential. Confidential, more confidential, most confidential. And I'm telling you this, you're my dear devotee. Therefore, you'll be able to understand this. So those who are highly intellectual, they understand all these things. That, all right, there are other processes, but by surrendering just to Krishna, what is that? There's one verse up here, let's come back. Verishu Jagyashu Tapasu Chaiva Danishu Yat Punya Palam Padishtam Adyeti Tatsabamidam Yogi Param Shtanam Upaiti Chadyam. When one takes up the path of devotional service, one is not bereft of studying the Verishu Jagya, performing Jagya, Tapasu, performing austerity, Danishu, giving the charity. There are so many things one can do that are beneficial. And so taking up devotional service, maybe we're not engaged in study of the Veda as such, or doing the yagyas and so many things like the rituals and so many things like that. But Krishna says when one takes up a devotional service, he's not bereft of the results of those things. Actually, he attains the topmost perfection of those things, and even more comes up to the level of love of God. So there's another verse, Prasangamajanam pa samatmana kaviyo vidusa evasadash Christo mokshadvaram apavitam. Everyone knows, Lord Kapila says that everyone knows attachment is the greatest entanglement. Attachments, and generally we see in life, one is attached to so many things. The husband, the wife, the children, the family. If there's no family, then there's pets that are attached to your dog, attached to your cat, attached to your bird. So many things we can be attached to. So it entangles us in the present, and then we can be attached to things in the future. We're thinking, well, we're going to do this, and we get attached to those things that are present and future also. But the door of liberation is open to that, for those that when the attachment is to Krishna and his devotees. Attachment binds us, but when you are attached, we're naturally attached as spirit soul, and that attachment is to Krishna and the devotees. So that opens the door of liberation. So it's a question of diverting, redirecting the attachment. It's like I was giving a class the other day on the Gold Coast on Akshaya Tritiya. Akshaya Tritiya was on Saturday here in Australia, and that is a very auspicious day, the third day of the waxing moon of Vaishak, very famous day. In India as well, in India was on Friday, but over this part of the world was on Saturday, so I gave a class, Akshaya Tritiya, and a very auspicious day. Many things happen on Akshaya Tritiya in the devotional line. Now, in India, of course, many people know about Akshaya Tritiya. It's a very auspicious day, the lining of the planets and so on, sun, the moon and so on. And so it is said that Akshaya means that which never diminishes or never decreases. It actually means eternal. So many people, they buy gold. on Akshaya Tritiya. Because they think by buying the gold, it'll never diminish. It'll just increase. Or they buy property. Or they do so many business endeavors, and they do it on Akshaya Tritiya. A very good day. But then I saw, but on the spiritual side, now interestingly, I just gave some facts here that, when Prabhupada formed his League of Devotees in Jhansi, it was on Akshaya Tritiya. He did it on Akshaya Tritiya. And when Srila Vyasadeva began to recite the Veda and all the different Shastras to Lord Ganesh, he started on Akshaya Tritiya. And it said the Ganga descended to earth on Akshaya Tritiya. There's so many things like that. And also it is said that now Draupadi surrendered to Krishna and was saved by Krishna twice on Akshaya Tritiya. The story of when Yudhisthira Maharaj lost everything in the gambling match, and then the only thing he had left was his wife Draupadi, so he gambled her as well, and he lost. And then Duryodhana said to Dushasan, bring her here and strip her naked, just humiliate the Pandava, humiliate her. And so then they were pulling up, and she was holding, in the beginning she was holding on, but then she just surrendered to Krishna. That was on Akshaya Tritiya. Krishna came and just supplied unlimited sari. And another time, when Draupadi, when Yudhisthira, of course, when they went into exile, so many, they left Indraprastha, and so many accompanied them. Many, even some of the ministers, many sages accompanied them into the forest. And so Yudhisthira Maharaj and the Pandits, they said, you should go back. This is our exile, not your exile. But they were so affectionate to them that they just followed them. And thousands of them. And so Yudhisthira thought that he would, he had to look after them, their meals and everything. So they were really in anxiety how to feed everyone. So the sages actually suggested that why don't you worship Vivishwan, the sun god? Maybe you're actually coming from him. If you worship him very humbly, and then maybe he can help. And so it was on this day, the Akshaya Tritiya, that sun god appeared, and he gave that Akshaya Patra, that magical plate that he said, here, take this plate, and it will supply you unlimited amounts of food. You'll be able to feed tens of thousands of people, however many you want, as long as Draupadi hasn't taken a meal for that day. When she takes a meal, then for that day, that's when you won't produce any more milk. But take this magical plate. And so they were very happy. And it's actually mentioned in the description in the Mahabharata that Bhimsena was especially happy. So anyway, so they were able to feed all the sages and so on and so. Eventually they all went back, but they unlimited. So then the fame of that plate and the whole that burned Duryodhana. That just burned him. He wanted to tried to kill them so many times. He just wanted to rub them out altogether. He didn't like they were getting any fame or glory, anything like that. So he had to plot to invite Devasa Muni to his palace and look after him we all know Devasa Muni easily pleased or easily angered. And so they looked after Devasa Muni very nicely, and then it was Duryodhana said, that Yudhisthira has this wonderful plate. If you go there, he's living very nicely there. You should go and visit him and bless him and give him your blessing. Because he didn't tell him the part about when Draupadi eats, So they actually went at the end of the day, and he had mentioned that Devasa Muni and all his Sishyas, 60,000 disciples with him. That's a lot of people travelling. So they went there and they arrived. So then Draupadi had already eaten. So no more meals could come that day. So everyone was excited. They all knew the reputation of Vasa Muni. So Ulysses told Sahadev, just suggest to go and take your bath first, freshen up, and then come back, and like that. So then everyone was there, what to do, and Draupadi started to cry, and then she started to pray to Krishna, and then Krishna appeared. This was also on Akshaya Tritiya. He appeared, and of course, you know the story, how he asked, let's see the pot, if there's anything left in there. No, there's nothing left, it's all clean. No, bring the, some say it was a pot, some say it was a plate, but anyway. So he saw one grain of rice and he took it. Such wonderful prasad I've never had before. So because he is Krishna, and he was full, then everyone became full. So then they sent Sahadev down to get them all, and actually as he was coming, they all came out up the bath so full, up to the neck full, and so like now he's coming, and if we don't go, we can't even eat anything, and if we go there and don't eat, that'll be a great offence on our part. And so they all just ran away. So there's many incidents. Of course, another incident was so this is attachment and doing things in the spiritual way instead of, and that's my point here, in the material way, material attachment, doing and you know the story of Sudama Brahmana. Sudama Brahmana was so poor in the town called Purganda. Now it's called Purganda. Before it was called Sudama Puri. And his wife suggested, why don't you go and see Krishna? And when he arrived there, Krishna and Rukmini Devi stood up and they worshipped him and sat him on the throne and worshipped him. And he brought an offering of chip rice, which you read that he actually even had to borrow that. He didn't even have that chip rice, that flat rice. And so Krishna knew everything, of course, and I think you brought an offering for me, and he didn't want to say it. He was embarrassed, in the big palace, wanting to offer Krishna some low-grain rice. But anyway, Krishna found it, and they were tied up in his dhoti, and then he just said, "Oh, it's so nice," and he just took it, so nice, and that happened on Akshaya Tritiya. So there's all these wonderful stories. And then, of course, when Sudama went back when he came close to his village, which was just a poor village, he saw it was like palaces everywhere, and people were dressed in finery. And then someone was coming towards him with a garland, and he's looking, who's this? some lady, coming with a garland, and dressed in finery and everything like that. And then he looked close, oh, that's my wife. And then he came, his form of just a little hut was like a palace. So that whole place became transformed. And actually, as I think I mentioned the other week, that there's a nice temple there in Purganda of Sudama Brahmana. You can go visit the temple, and the deity is Sudama, and they worship Sudama. So same thing. So the auspicious days come, and we do the spiritual activity. Whereas others, they have attachment to the material things. And of course there's those who don't even know about auspicious or inauspicious. They're just attached to so many material things. So now it is said here, interestingly enough, that when one surrenders to the lotus feet of Krishna, one becomes purified and becomes relieved of all these attachments. Now this is an interesting word here, relieved, because actually these attachments are great burdens. They're burdens, these attachments, I'm attached to this and that and the other, attached to my house. Anyone who's got a house knows that just to keep the house, there's always something going wrong in the house. This needs repair, that needs repair. You're like forever running around doing things, right? So all these things take a lot of effort to maintain. It takes a lot of effort to maintain these attachments. Material attachments. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And so whether they're now or in the future, all these attachments that are going to come in the future, they'll also take a lot of energy. So when one surrenders to Krishna, the attachment is to Krishna. So it's a relief, actually. It's a relief to not have to worry about those other things. And Prabhupada actually points out in his purport in one of these verses that the devotee just, he does his duty in Krishna consciousness to the best of his ability, but as far as maintenance, it just leaves it to Krishna. So in that sense, whatever Krishna is going to provide me, I'll take that. So there's no anxiety there as far as the materialists. There's always an anxiety. They've got these things, they're very attached to them, they've got to maintain them, or someone may take them away. So it's actually considered a relief. And because of that, one progresses without difficulty, without difficulty. Other things are very, take a lot of effort and so on. But if one surrenders to Krishna, and Krishna gives this promise that Prabhupada mentions here, I will deliver you, I will protect you. This is, do not fear, do not worry anymore. This is my promise to you. So Krishna is giving his promise. So some others may give a promise, but whether or not they'll keep it, or whether they're able to keep it. Maybe they just won't be able to keep it. But Krishna, he can keep any promise. He's saying, I will do this, I will deliver you. So therefore, Krishna is saying, who better to accept and who better to trust than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Sorry, a little bit, we're a little over time here. Perhaps we've got time for one question. Yes, please.
In the verse, it said something about Srimad Kirtanam. Is it eviction or something?
Yes, this was in the previous verse. Ikshanam, to have the darshan or the audience. This was yesterday's verse. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yat ikshanam. Means to have the darshan, or ikshana means the audience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are the different elements of performing devotional service. We do the kirtan and we hear, and then we come and we have darshana. Darshan, or this is called ikshatam or ikshanam. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai, all glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.